Good afternoon and welcome to the third episode of Powered by You. My name is Zino and I'm your host. For today's episode, we'll be discussing the topic of money management. Before I start, I do want to say that I am not a financial advisor, so please do your own research. On that note, I'd like to introduce our guest. We have Saeed, who's a local member of the community.
Thank you for having me.
And we have Carl, who works for an organisation called MyBnk.
Absolute pleasure to be here.
How you not been? How's your week? Busy, quiet?
I've had quite a busy week. I'm not usually as busy as I have been. I've been to a funeral this week, which was quite unfortunate. I'm a Man United fan. I've watched my team draw a game they shouldn't lose, and I've been quite busy at work, which is actually a good thing being in lockdown because we haven't been as busy as we should be. But good week, and I'm here today.
Looking forward to the weekend.
Well, Man United's got another game, so I am looking forward to the weekend.
What,
but I'm sort of a positive mindset human being. I look forward to every day, so that's kind of how I see life.
Fair enough. What about you, Sam? What are you saying?
It's been a quiet week, just, spending time with family. Just came back from abroad, so...
That bonding time.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
I was working abroad, actually. Just came back recently, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Okay, so if you can tell us what it is that you do and how you do it, just for us and the viewers, they can have a better understanding of who you are.
Sure. Absolutely. So, like we said earlier, the organisation I work for is called MyBnk. MyBnk teaches financial education to young people all across the UK, starting from the young age of 5 up until 25 in a variety of different capacities. One of the main things that we do, we go to lots of different schools, and like I said, from a very young age, and we also work with people, organisations, local authorities. We work with sometimes sports groups, and we work with like care leavers. So the team that I'm in works mainly with people looking to move on from semi-independent living into independent living. And as the day goes on, we'll have a deeper conversation about that.
Okay. How long have you been doing it for?
You know what? I've been with MyBnk now for it's either 5 or 6 years if you count the time I was a freelancer for them.
Right.
There you go.
And is there anything that made you want to do it?
Oh, that's a good question.
What drove you to actually go into this field of work?
Good question. So I used to work for another organisation, and MyBnk came into that organisation and they done a workshop with us, and it was called the Motivator, which was looking at your little bits of spending. So one of your non-essential items that you buy, looking at how much it costs, timesing it by how often you buy that item and how much it costs you throughout the year. And the item that I chose was kebabs. I used to eat a lot of kebabs.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise how much money I spent on kebabs. So at the end of it, it told me like £2,500 a year goes on specifically kebabs.
For real.
And just working with the organisation and realising that they do financial education for not just for young people, which I didn't think existed. I didn't think we do anything in schools, and learning that an organisation like that exists and knowing that I've done some great things with money and some terrible things with money, I want to be part of the organisation and help the world. So that's kind of why I do it.
Yeah, that's good, man. Yeah. You know what? None of us are perfect. When it comes to money management, I can't say, my one's on point. Sometimes I've had days where I'm great, and sometimes I don't know what I'm doing with my paycheck.
I'm the same to this day. Even though I work for a financial education company and I'm talking about it every day, I still make financial mistakes.
Exactly. So that's with these episode topics, if we're discussing money management, this has been selected by young people. So they're the ones that said we feel like we want to highlight money management as being an issue for us, because some people don't have their priorities straight, and hopefully we can unfold certain things in this discussion that we could actually give out to people, any information that might be useful to others. And Saeed was saying that he was abroad as well, and a big thing does happen when you go abroad. Your money does change. You don't know how to save up for certain things, and that's how we're gonna start looking at managing your finances, because you could potentially be good at financial management, and that's great, or you can be terrible, but then you'll be facing different obstacles in life. You could potentially face eviction. You could face you name it.
Yeah.
And hopefully we're trying to raise awareness. That's all it is. Cool. So you don't fall into those predicaments. So I want to ask you, what is a good amount of money to have saved for a rainy day? Especially if you're living in London, you're a young adult, because this question can differ. You can be a young parent, or you can be just a single person.
That's actually a good question, and I've never been asked that question before. So I'm answering this sort of from Carl's point of view, not from MyBank's point of view. I think if you have enough money saved to cover your life expenditure for 2 or 3 months, then you've got enough savings. We all live very differently. So if my outgoings is only £500 a month, I only need £1,500 to survive 3 months. But if my outgoings is £10,000 a month, I need £30,000 to survive 3 months. So I always think a good amount of savings is basically being able to protect yourself for at least 3 months, because things can go wrong. And you might lose a job or a stream of income, and then you've got time to rectify that if you can cover it for that period of time. But it's kind of what I think more than anything else.
Okay. So 3 months worth of savings, that would be...
Cover your expenditure, cover your outgoings.
What would you say it's essential? Because at this moment, we're looking at money management as a survival skill.
No. I think to go back to something, you said, how do you see money management, basically?
Yeah, what comes into your mind when we say money management? First things.
Over the years, it's kind of changed. So when I was a lot younger, it was all about just making sure you only spend your money on sensible things. That's good money management. If you're ever buying yourself something lavish, you're making a mistake. That's kind of what my brain used to say when I was younger. As time has gone on, it's more about budgeting, making sure that you have enough money for the things that you want. And also, and this is something that I've realized the younger generations learn a lot more now than I did when I was younger, knowing where to put your money, knowing how to invest your money, learning about finance. So it is something that when I was younger, you would never hear me say. Like, I didn't think we were able to invest unless you was a particular type of person. Now, you can invest very easily, no matter who you are.
Yeah, that's true. No, okay, I get what you're saying. So you're saying it's more accessible and things are they're not as private as they used to be.
Yeah. Or maybe they was never private, but we just used to think they were private. But now we're learning so much more, because you've got organisations like MyBnk that will go into schools, that will talk to young people, and the conversation is not just happening in households. It's not just happening on your financial channel. It's actually happening in our schools across the country.
Okay, fair enough. So you make sure that you tell them ahead of time. So do you actually tell people to build more streams of income, or do you not? Is that not an area of focus?
I think what I would in my job, I would say we don't tell anybody to do anything. We advise on what the world is like as you grow.
That's the right word, advise.
We advise. We advise young people on what the world is like as they grow, and sort of different things that they can do in order to protect themselves from the worst happening, from going broke, from being in debt, from going bankrupt or whatever it is. Our job is kind of to give them a knowledge they may not have.
Do you ever come across young people or just general people with the public being bankrupt? Because when we hear the term bankrupt, we always link it to celebrities or big businesses.
In my time working with MyBnk, I've never worked with a young person that has said to me they are bankrupt. I've worked with a lot of young people that say they are broke. And sometimes they're not actually broke.
What do you mean? So
sometimes they're actually broke. Sometimes people just don't have as much money as they want to have, and they will classify that as being broke, having no money.
So in other words, you're saying they don't appreciate what they already have, in a way.
No. I don't want to say that, because I think that's kind of putting a negative on their thinking. I guess what I'm saying is that when in the society that I think we're in, when people don't have as much money as they would like, they feel like they are broke. Yeah. So I mean, you can look at it as they don't really appreciate it, but I don't want them to think like that, because then it's kind of not helping them to progress from that, if that's the sort of thinking that I put into their minds, I guess.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I agree. But like we said before, there are first world problems.
Yes, 100%.
So how do you tell a young person, and we say young or young adult up to even the age of 30 sometimes, how do you tell them your issue is not that deep? Like, relax.
You know what? Very, very good conversation to have. So I've worked in 2 different parts of MyBnk. I worked in what's called the education team, where we would go around into schools. And I think when we had those conversations in the classroom, it would be a lot more gentle. It wouldn't be so deep into the conversation. It would be very generic. I've now moved into a team called the Money House, which is a 5-day program where young people will come to a flat that we have in the UK. So we've got different flats in different boroughs. And they will come and do a level 1 in money management. But we're working with young people sort of 16 to 25. And that's when we can have those conversations by saying, look, the situation is not as deep as how you feel about it. And there are different approaches that you can take to this. So don't be too stressed out. And those conversations tend to be very, very real. So, yeah.
Okay.
It depends what part of the organisation we're talking about. But in the Money House in particular, it's a real conversation. Lots of real conversations that we have.
That's true. Okay. Yeah. That sounds good. It sounds a lot of one-to-one, honest speaking.
It's group work. It's group. So they come in groups. But we do, like I said, if a situation is specific, we will talk very specifically to that person. And we have great conversations, man, and great debates in the room.
So, yeah. What age group is that?
16 to 25.
25. So what about those who are older than 25? Because we know money management doesn't impact that age range. It can impact anyone of any age, really. No.
So MyBnk in general work with young people from 5 to 25. So what we're trying to achieve is getting to them before they reach the age of 26, 27 to 30. So after the age of 25, we tend to not work with people, but we're talking 20 years they got to get to us. So there will be a chance for them to work with MyBnk before they turn 26 to 30.
Okay, that's really good. So what would you call bad money management in your eyes that you've seen firsthand?
You know, spending money that generally is going to cause you harm. So, Saeed was saying earlier that it's okay to treat yourself, and I'm not against that at all. But if we're talking to young people and they are choosing to say, I'm going to go out with my friends and I'm going to take some of the rent money to go out with my friends, this is going to cause you a problem later on down the line. So we tend to sort of look at bad money management as spending money that you do not have and that is going to cause you a problem. So not large amounts of spending, because if you have lots of money and you can afford to spend lots of money, then nobody's against you spending your money. It's when it's going to cause you a problem. So that's when it enters into bad money management.
So would you say living with parents helps you with money management in terms of having someone there telling you what you're doing isn't not appropriate, but it's not sensible how you're spending your money? Because you always get, them moments you're always getting told off, why are you buying this? That's stupid. You're silly. But then when you're living independently, it might be a different story because you don't have someone there to pull you up on what you're doing or how you're spending your money. So my question is, would you say it's easy to live independently as a young adult in London?
From a personal point of view, I think living in London is quite expensive. It's hard all round for parents, for the younger generation, for pretty much everyone. But you asked the question, is living with your parents, will it help? It all depends on your household and sort of what financial education is coming out of your household and what you're taking into your reality. So living with parents can help, but sometimes living with parents might not help. They might get you to spend money in a way that's detrimental to you.
What do you reckon?
Depending on the household. Depending on the household.
Because I feel like it's learned behavior more so than anything, because you will most likely spend money in a similar way to your parents and what you saw growing up. Like
what would you give an example of any situations?
I can't give a specific example, but generally, it's because financial education is an important thing.
But we're not taught it in school, though. That's the issue.
My understanding is that it's deliberate, because I feel like a certain class of people are usually the ones that, like Carl was saying earlier, we've always been taught to think that certain people invest, and maybe people who are working class, for example, is something they tend not to do. But I feel like in recent times, it's something that people are looking more into and trying to learn how to handle money, because it is a very important thing. That's interesting that we're not taught it. Yeah,
that is true. So that's the thing with money management. They always teach you how to maintain your 9-to-5 job. Is that why not teach you how to increase your stream of income and work towards financial freedom, if that's the case, of avoiding those difficult times?
Well, I think basically this is why MyBnk was set up. So MyBnk is a charity that's basically trying to bridge that gap. And the idea of it was to go into the education system. So when I was younger, there was no organisations like MyBnk coming into my school. But now there are so many schools across the country where they are getting financial education. It is now part of the national curriculum. It might not be what they learn every single year throughout the year, but to have people come in and talk to you about finance is now part of what the education system does. And MyBnk literally was designed to try and help young people with that. So that's why the organisation exists.
Yeah, the organisation does do great work. I remember doing some workshops when I was younger myself.
What, with MyBnk?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't realise that. Cool.
I was, how old was I? I was around 18, 19.
Okay.
It was years ago.
What they do? Unidosh?
It was looking at different stuff. For example, how to pay your council tax, what it means, your bills, what they look like.
Money Works.
Was that Money Works?
That sounds like a Money Works program.
Yeah, what your NI number is. Stuff.
Yeah.
The basics of when going to the real world, of how to identify how a letter should be read, and what it means and stuff like that. So that was a good thing that I think young people should continue to learn, because so many people, especially when you're saying you support those who are from supported accommodation, and they from there end up getting their own housing. Some of them don't even know how to pay rent or even pay their bills. And you got different kind of bills. You got your water bill, you got your gas, electricity, and
TV license,
and all these things. And unfortunately, because some people don't know how to go on about these things, they end up facing eviction. Have you heard of any stories that unfortunately some people didn't find their way through?
So basically, statistics say that 1 in 3 care leavers in the first 24 months will face eviction without intervention. So when you get organisations like MyBnk coming in before they move into independent living, what this does, it gives them a lot of knowledge that they wouldn't have had. So when they come across a problem, they know how to deal with it. So I moved out of my parents' home when I was 17. I moved into my own flat a couple of months later, and I was 18 years old. And I didn't understand all this stuff. And this is what attracts me to working for MyBnk so much, is there were some things, because I didn't understand, I didn't respect. So little things like paying my council tax, I was like, what do I get in return? I ain't paying that bill. Now, if I would have had an organisation like MyBnk come to me and tell me what effects this will have on me, actually I would have understood that paying your council tax is not just giving money to the government for them to do what they want. They actually use all this tax money that we always complain about to do good things for the country. And that knowledge has changed how I feel about taxes. I'm not going to say I love it, but I understand what taxes are doing. And when you watch young people go from hating taxes to understanding what taxes do, it changes how they feel about paying these bills. So that's why I think it's like such a good thing that we get to them before they're moving on.
Have you ever come across someone that still doesn't understand, even though you've actually worked with them?
I'll be lying if I said no. Of course, you will work with young people that will argue with you till the cows come home that this is not what the money is doing. And my job is just to tell them this is what the facts are. So take it or leave it, I guess. But I think where the conversations that we have, they're so real. It might start off like that, day 1, day 2. By the time we get to day 5, people don't want to leave, and people want to have more and more in-depth conversations, because I'm not here working for this organisation to pretend to you life is a bed of roses, and that conversation means young people want to ask those real serious questions.
Oh, okay. See? So what's your view on this whole concept of living independent? Because you've actually said before we started that you've went abroad, coming back. Did your money management skills end up changing or getting better?
I feel like when it comes to money management, it's going to be the same anywhere, really. The only thing that would change is, of course, how much is outgoing and incoming, because if you live elsewhere, I mean, living in London, like I said before, is expensive. But if you move somewhere else, you have more leeway with your money because you're not spending it. Maybe transport is cheaper or housing is cheaper, for example. So you'll still need to budget. But moving elsewhere maybe might help you to save more. I'd say that's one benefit.
Yeah, like Carl was mentioning tax brackets and stuff like that. Certain countries you go to, the tax is probably slashed in half. maybe, or even tax-free.
Yeah.
So that's one way of looking at it. When you go for a certain job, they say salary is X amount. And then you look at your paycheck thinking, nah, it can't be. It said, how is this? It doesn't, in the times it by 12, and you're thinking, nah, it said, you know.
Yeah. Well, times it by 12 is a mistake
and then you look
itself
at your
because you're going to get taxed.
And then you look deeper into your payslip, you're thinking, all right, there you got NI, you got tax, and then you've got student finance if you did go to uni, and then you've got pension.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, oh, no one told me about the pension because you've been automatically rolled into it.
Yeah.
So all these things. So that's maybe it's better to understand how things work from when you look at a job ad being advertised to you actually get your payslip. And then from there, that's just the payslip section.
Yeah.
Then you got to spend that money. How are you going to spend that money is going to show how good your skills are with saving or your priorities.
So we have a whole section in the week where we talk about budgeting and setting a budget for the amount of money that you actually got coming in and where that money is going to be spent and then what you've got remaining. And what we try and tell young people is the amount you got remaining is where your main focus should be, because the other amount is already spent in your budget. You can see where it's going to go. But it's that leftover sort of income, that disposable income that you can use, I would say however you want to use, but that's what's got to last you the whole month until you get paid again, or the whole week, depending on when you get paid.
So those who are unemployed, so those if you're working, it's a pretty straightforward process. Okay, you get paid X amount, you save X amount, and you try and make it last for the month. If someone's unemployed, how would you explain money management to them? Because they're telling you, I'm broke anyways to begin with. I'm on survival mode. How would you address that?
Well, there's two different types of broke, I would say. So
Okay,
there is, I am not turning to the government for any form of support. And there is, I am turning to the government, I am receiving benefits. If you're receiving benefits, you're not broke. You have an income, it's just not as much money as people that are working. So the conversation kind of is the same, is this is where your money has to go and this is what you have left to survive on. And I also try and always get into young people's heads that you're not going to be in this situation forever. It will change. You will go on, you will get employment and you will get an income. But while you are not employed, actually what you do have to do is bring back your spending dramatically, because you can't spend in the same way.
Okay.
If you are earning no money whatsoever, it's all about who is supporting you. So are you living with family? How do you survive with the people that are providing for you?
Yeah, you get sponsors, isn't it? Different kind of sponsors.
What are you calling sponsors? Like family members sponsoring
Family
you?
members, but then you get on Instagram and you start seeing people that have never worked a day in their life. They're going on these lavish holidays. You're thinking, how are you going on these holidays when you never worked? But
that is a question I would love to know the answer to.
It's funny you mentioned that,
Go on, sorry.
It's funny you mentioned that because social media is what skews a lot of people, because you never know someone's circumstances. You just see what they post.
No, but it's the location they're posting. Let's say you grow up with someone who's across the road from you. You've known them. They've known you. You're thinking, I know this person is.
Yeah, but
if they are working, they would be working at, Yeah,
because Carl's advising these young people, and they're looking at people on social media and comparing themselves to them, where they've got nice clothes, maybe driving a nice car, on a holiday all the time, and then they feel like they're broke when necessarily you're not, and you never know someone else's circumstances, so you can't really compare yourselves to them.
So would you say music and social media influence people to actually become adapted to a certain lifestyle that they can't afford realistically?
I'd be lying if I said it doesn't affect young people, but yeah, it definitely affects a lot of them. Say a large majority.
Even I think even impacts the older generation as well.
Yeah.
We can't just say it's young people.
Definitely.
I'm 36. I think I've fallen into the older generation.
No. You're still young.
Am I still young?
You're still young.
I'm still young. I'm still young. But
Nah.
I do think social media does influence everybody. Anybody that pays attention to social media is going to influence them in some kind of way.
Exactly. Like you said, life starts when you're 40.
Yeah, life begins at 40.
Yeah.
That's what I knew growing up. You told me earlier that the one he heard is life begins at 30. So I'm 6 years deep if that's the case.
You're living your best life now.
Yeah, well, I live my best life whether I'm broke or not.
So my other question to you is, you said you work with a lot of groups. What kind of demographic do you work with? And more specifically, I'd say, do you work more with public schools than private, or do you work with both?
We work with more public schools, but we definitely do work with both. We work with, like I said, a variety of different people in society. So whether it's care leavers, whether it's youth groups, I have been to loads of public schools. I've taught in Eton. I've had
Really?
unit sessions
Nice.
in Eton. Yeah, and it's like we try and work with everybody. People think that when you are born into a life where you have money and your parents have money, that everybody knows what to do with it. Not everybody still needs that education. If you don't get it, you're still going to falter at some point if you misunderstand money management.
No, of course. 100% I agree with you. And sometimes people that do have a large inheritance of wealth,
Yeah.
they tend to have financial advisors by their sides if they don't know what they're doing.
That's what I used to think until I've worked with some of these groups.
Okay.
And they might go and get finance advice later on in life, but in their youth, some of them they don't have it. So that's why the organization that I work for, it exists for all. So anybody that doesn't have the financial education, we can be there for them in some capacity up to the age of 25. Because
So if someone comes to you, they're 26, what do you tell them?
So, do you know what? That's also a good question. So the first thing I'll do is turn to the organisation and feedback that the need for financial education is higher than the age that we work with. And that is a conversation that the organisation will have with their trustees and see if we can branch out.
But do you feel like it goes higher than 25?
Oh, I think.
What's your opinion
I
on
think
this?
my personal opinion
Yeah, your
is.
personal opinion,
my
yeah.
personal opinion is so many people need money management, and the age for me, there is no cap. What I would say is when you get to a certain age, where I think some people need money management or financial management, is teaching it to the younger generations and talking about the mistakes they made. I will talk in my sessions all the time about the mistakes I've made in my life. I don't shy away from them. I'll tell them, and I tell them exactly why. So, yeah.
Okay, you're very transparent. What?
Try to be.
So if you had to say, what's the worst case scenario of money management that you've seen?
Oh, so I don't
I'm
know.
sure there's a lot.
I don't know. I'm gonna keep thinking. Don't let that question.
Yeah.
Don't let that question go off. But let me keep thinking.
Go on, what about you, Said? What is so?
I don't know. To be honest, the worst I've probably seen is someone just living week to week. I haven't seen any disaster scenarios.
No, it's not. It
Honestly,
hasn't,
like,
okay,
yeah.
No, because I've seen some people that really not. It's not some. One person, for example, had money on their oyster. They used up the oyster and then wanted to have a meal.
Yeah.
But they didn't have nothing.
Yeah.
So what they done was they refunded that oyster. What is it? You can get £5 for it.
Somebody's told me this. I've never seen it in action, but you can do something to get money back off your oyster.
Yeah. So the oyster becomes void.
Okay.
It'll be just you can't top it up again.
Okay. Cool.
It'll be invalid.
Okay.
So someone actually had to cancel that oyster and then just get that £5
wow.
back for them to get a meal.
Okay.
I was thinking, wow, that's really deep. You know.
We hear things like that quite often. That people are going to extremes just to be able to get a meal, and it's a hard thing to listen to. At the end of the day, it really is.
But then you think to yourself, you see that same person or maybe someone else that can't afford to get a meal, but they're wearing £1,000 jacket. What does that tell you? Or we can't assume that they bought it. It could have been given to them.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
But sometimes, what is the reality to think most things?
Yeah. I know I have a view, but I'll let Saeed
All right,
go
let's
first.
let Saeed chip into this because he's been. I'm not gonna lie, he's been quiet. He's been
No,
chilling.
He's there. No.
He's been
Yeah.
observing. He's been observing.
That's.
But don't be afraid, man. Speak what's in your chest.
Yeah. Nah. I'm speaking from the heart, man.
Hold on.
Yes. That's just. Like you said, it depends on the situation, depends on the context. If they actually bought that jacket, then that's clear. It's
You're
just
a mug.
spending your last dime. Yeah, you're just spending your last dime to maybe impress other people. Maybe, I don't know.
So what would you tell the person that you did see wearing a designer jacket and they can't afford the meal deal?
They should.
And you know this person. What would you tell them?
if the jacket's theirs, I just tell them to refund that jacket and rethink their life decisions. Because, yeah, that's a downhill slope. Like you asked before, what's the worst case I've seen is probably because people tend to think that only broke people are the ones who have bad money management. But I've seen people who are earning a lot and still living like paycheck to paycheck because they don't know, like maybe their disposable income has increased, but then they just spend that larger amount rather than thinking about where to put it away or save it. I don't know if, Carl, you've dealt with any people like that.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And there's been large periods of time in my own life where I've bought things probably at times where I shouldn't have. And I think that's what allows me to be good at my job, is understanding that sometimes you just have this need of, I want this item over everything. Because things like rent, you can't, even though you live in that house every day, you can't see it. It's hard to see. So we start to make financial decisions on things that are tangible, things you can touch. And it's not a good thing. But then you asked the question earlier about what do you say to people who have lavish stuff but can't afford to eat? You know, sometimes I've had conversations with people where they're like, money was fine. I never saw a problem coming. So they end up spending their money on lavish things because they have a good cash flow. And if you buy a pair of trainers for £1,000, let's say, and you lose your job 3 years later, you still got the trainers. What are you going to do? Not wear them? So you wear the lavish trainers. Now you've gone broke. You've got a lot of nice stuff in your household. You've got a lot of nice clothes. People now think you got bad money management. They don't realize that something dramatic has happened, but you've still got the goods, so you can still wear them. They're still yours. So it's my job is never really to judge somebody on their appearance. It is to open up conversations. So if somebody is telling me they're broke, and then they're also telling me in that same sentence they're leaving here to go to Selfridges to buy themselves some new stuff, that's when I will jump in. But if somebody's saying, I've had these things for years and finances just change, then the conversation changes. Changes. It changes, yeah.
True,
Yeah.
I get what you mean. But if you're really broke and you got all these lavish things, surely you'd think about reselling the stuff that you have that still hold on to value.
Absolutely. And I think what ends up happening is people get very precious about how much they pay for something and how much the resale value is. So they might say, I paid £1,000 for this footwear, I've only worn it 3 times, but if I try to sell it, it's only £200. So they'll rather hold on to it. And like I said, that's a conversation to be had. If they see their financial situation changing and they see it getting better and stronger in a short period of time, then they don't have to get to that dramatic place of trying to sell stuff. But if it's a case of survival, you can't pay your rent and you've got things of value, then maybe you can go down that route. But not without conversation, not without understanding, not without thinking about what is the best thing to do.
That's tough.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
They're hard conversations. They're never easy. Like when I have these conversations week by week. They're never easy. But my job is not really to care about how easy the conversation is. It's about doing the job.
Yeah. I think if you're thinking about money management, the best thing to do obviously is to have a plan.
Yeah.
Because that's the only time you're really gonna think about saving money. I don't know what kind of plan you advise people on, like what path to take starting off, because if you don't have a goal, then you're gonna look at the money that you have saved there and just end up spending it.
Yeah, we got a part of the accreditation where it's all about it is my goal setting. What is my financial goal? So I would ask the question, what do you want to achieve over the next 5 years? And they have to show in different steps how they are going to get there. So you will get some people say they want to own their own shop and they want to sell food. But at the moment, they're not employed whatsoever. So that's where they will start. They will start with trying to gain employment, trying to be able to save an amount of money, thinking about getting a business loan, thinking about saving enough to open up their own shop, whatever the path that will get them there. So that we literally talk about thinking about the future in the present. So that is part of what we do.
Yeah, it's so hard to try and set goals when you're basically in the middle of life and you've got things that you already have to pay for.
But that's the only time you set goals. So goals are to be set for something you don't have right now. You don't set goals on something you've already achieved.
Of course not.
So it's kind of like, actually, when a young person says that to me, that's kind of what I say to them. It's like, it don't matter how well you're doing in life, your goal is always something that is not within reach right now. So you just work towards it.
That's true.
A lot of this is about their mind, about people's mindsets, and not just young people. It's about when you are feeling rubbish or not feeling great, it tends to feel like the task is harder, but the task is always the same. It's about trying to get to somewhere that you're not at yet. So it's kind of just reassuring their minds.
I personally think I agree with what you said. By the way, quality stuff.
I try. I talk a good game.
No, but I think there's other things that contribute to it. So you can come in and talk about, do this, do that, have this plan. I'll see you once a week. But then again, once they leave you, their circle or their friendship circle is toxic, or they're all the same in terms of being unemployed, unmotivated, and have no ambition. So your time is not being wasted, but it's just it kind of makes it much more difficult for you to work with that person, because
I wish I had the statistic, but I don't. But working with MyBnk and the Money House specifically has brought down young people's evictions. So actually, where sometimes it might feel like you're not being listened to because young people just want to go back to their normal lives, when they're faced with it in reality, they've learned something now. So their mind will make a different decision than if they never spoke about this. So when I saw my first council tax bill when I was 18 years old, I did not know what it was, so I didn't pay it. If I had done, I'm not playing that. I didn't pay my council tax bill until that council tax letter turned into a court date. I was like, oh, they don't play like Halifax. Halifax just kept sending me letter after letter after letter. Not council tax. No. They sent me 2 letters and the next one was a court date. So now if I had that understanding, I would have never have not paid it, because I would have had that understanding of how serious it was, because I had other debts that I just refused to pay. And nothing really happened. But when you start to get an education of what is priority from non-priority, which is also a conversation that we have, then you start to realize, like, when you're faced with it in reality, you have to make a different decision to what you would have.
That's true.
Yeah. So it can feel like waste of time, but it's really not. And that's what the job has taught me.
Oh, definitely. It's not a waste of time. But you might get some people say, you know what, I'm paying for all these things. I have nothing left over and I'm not enjoying my life whilst I'm young.
Yeah.
And it's just like...
hard conversation. It's a conversation that needs to be had. And like I said, so I said earlier, I'm 36, I'm old. And then you respond and say, you're not old. And that's exactly the conversation we need to have. I'm saying you're like 18 years old. Like, this is the period of your life where you are going to make sure that when you get to 36 years old, that you're going to be booming, making the good decisions now for the future.
Yeah, but someone might say tomorrow's not promised.
Yeah.
So they're trying to live their life in the moment. Because you're telling me I'm going to see 36.
Yeah.
You could be right.
Yeah.
Or you could be wrong. Yeah. Whatever could happen between now and then, you can't predict. So that's why they say, some people say, spend all your money or use your money, enjoy your money, because your life is just not, tomorrow's not promised. And it's not good to save everything of your money and not spend some of it to enjoy your life. So what do you think about that? Because you're just basically teaching the basics of being in survival mode.
Yeah. You know, I pretty much say this to every group I've worked with. I grew up 20 minutes away from the city, but my neighbour would say they grew up in the hood. And it's up to you what you set your eyes on when you look at the window. At the end of the day, I grew up in an environment where I was never sure if I was going to reach 36, but I'm here. So I always end up saying to young people, what if you're wrong? What if you are going to live until you're 90 years old? Like, it's all well and good spending now in the moment, but most of us, our life expectancy is like 85 years old. That's what our life expectancy is. So
it's more than that.
Sorry?
I thought it was more.
No. That's our life expectancy. People do live longer, obviously, but our life expectancy is around 85. So prepare to live that long.
When is retirement?
Retirement is 68.
68. So let's just say 70. Let's round it up.
You want to round it up? You want to change? Nah, you want to change it from what it is? Let me tell you something. My retirement is 68. I ain't retiring at 70. No, just because you want to round it up.
I don't want to retire at 70, but we're just saying, let's just... Oh, man. 68 is...
70 is old, man.
That is...
Yeah, it is.
Even 68.
68 is
Yeah.
really old, man.
But here's the thing. What I've always had a problem with retiring at 68. Well, when I was younger, at 65, yeah. So I always had a problem with it.
They keep pushing it up 2 years.
Yeah,
Well, do you know what pushes it up?
No.
Life expectancy. So if you're expected to live longer, you're expected to work longer.
Hey, yeah.
But you know what? I always used to hate that concept. And then I said to myself, but when you're old, what are you doing with all your time?
That's what they say,
Yeah,
isn't
what
it?
you doing? Like,
They say when you're young, you got all the energy
Yeah.
but no money.
Yeah.
And when you're old, you got all the money but no energy.
No
so
energy. But I do believe that you can still work at these ages. And if you're not working, you're just watching daytime TV and QVC and spending up all the money on all these things that you see, where actually the concept in my mind has changed. Like, I wouldn't actually mind working now because I have to do something with my life.
when you're 68, you mean? Or
I don't want, what I would love is that I've got lots and lots of money. I don't have to do anything. But if I haven't, I do want to do something with what I think is much more precious than money, which is my time. And I want to be able...
that skydiving at 68.
I don't know about no skydiving. I've got a fear of aeroplanes. But
Scuba diving.
But basically, can't swim. No, but basically, what I guess I'm trying to say is when I'm talking to young people, it is about preparing them. And of course I have. Like, one of the main things I always say is I've been young myself. These are all the things I've said.
You're still young. Stop saying
Sorry.
I've been young.
Sorry.
It's a mindset,
I agree with you. It's a mindset, and I still believe that I'm young now.
That's it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, when I was younger, I asked all of these questions, and I used to challenge people with my questions. And what I've now realized, going through the motions, going through the years, living independently, being a parent, is that everything that I was being told has come true. It was the way that I was being told that probably didn't make me listen. I was just being told, like my parents would say to me, save money, but no reason why. They're not really preparing me for what's to come. And now in the conversations that I have, it's about opening up the conversation so much that they can ask me in detail, what do you do? Why? How much money do you earn? I answer all these questions that most people in their adult life don't want to answer.
But who do you ask these questions to?
Who do I... When I was younger, I used to ask it to my elders, my adults, teachers, everybody.
What? How much do you earn?
Yeah.
That.
And I would get told
I would
off.
get the look of death.
Yeah, I feel like
I said
I feel like it's a taboo question. You can't really put that to them. They won't answer you.
They won't answer, but in the beginning of my sessions, I say this to them: ask me whatever question you think is going to be a benefit to you. And I'm yet to come across a question that has been too invasive. And I've been asked everything.
The thing is, what I personally have been told is to not compare yourself to others. Because we all have our own journey.
Yeah,
we all
absolutely.
have. Doesn't mean because you're on X amount that I should be on the same or maybe higher or lower, whatever it is. If you end up looking at others, you'll just forget to focus on yourself.
Yeah.
And it's just like I'm saying, there's no straight path to life. You're gonna find times you're gonna be feeling great, and sometimes you're gonna be in your lowest points.
Yeah. But it is like refocusing young people's minds and getting them to be open and be honest. Because it is that honesty that gets you to the place of what you really need to fix, or fix is probably the wrong word, but work on to develop. And I just think that I love my job. Look, I wish my job paid £1 million a year. I'll be absolutely real. But the job itself, if I was earning millions or had millions, it's still a job I would want to do, because the types of conversations that I'm having, they're so helpful that young people come back. I've been stopped in the street by young people that I can't remember. I've worked with so many. Oh, you came to my school, I've done this, that and the other. And that's like the best thing that can happen. But generally what I'm saying is it has an impact, because they're able to ask questions that, like when I was younger, I couldn't ask people how much they earn. I couldn't even ask what was tax and what did it do. Like, I couldn't ask. And I think it was because my elders didn't even know what it done. So they didn't want to get asked the question.
Yeah, I just clocked your trainers right now.
Oh, yeah.
I just went,
it's a massive subject in my workplace. Yeah, it's a massive subject.
Yeah, it's just...
The lubes.
Yeah.
Man.
It's always a conversation, and I always wear them. So I would walk around schools in what is known as expensive footwear. And people would be like, you're coming here to talk about money management. How are you wearing expensive
footwear? That's what I was
footwear?
thinking as well, yeah.
Yeah. They don't ask me how much was my jeans that cost like £6 from ASOS, or my t-shirt that cost £7. I
Boxing
say,
Day sales.
It's not even Boxing Day. So I go to cheap places to buy a lot of stuff. I just like particular type of footwear. No footwear that I buy is plain and simple, and that's the reason it ends up being a lot. They're studded, they've got leopard print footwear, shiny footwear. I'm buying them for two reasons. I don't buy trainers in the same way everybody else does, so I will wait a long period of time, then buy a pair of footwear, and they just happen to build up and last long. And I like my footwear to stand out. That's just that's me. And when I buy it, I can afford it.
Yeah.
Like something might go majorly wrong in life, and then I'm struggling for finance, but I can afford it. It's fine. I can pay all my bills. Just about.
Just about.
Childcare.
Oh man, yeah, don't start with childcare.
Yeah.
But you said you wish your job paid £1 million. So I want to ask, in terms of your money management, if someone was to give you £1 million right now, what are you doing with it?
The very first thing I would do.
Yeah.
So I ask this question every week. I lie every week. What I mean is, I lie the order.
Don't ask the same question to Saeed after.
Right. I lie the order, not necessarily what I would do. I always say I would pay off the mortgage first, which is less than £1 million. And then I would buy probably expensive footwear. The truth is, I'll probably buy the expensive footwear first. And I'm not saying
how much would you spend on that?
On footwear. Oh, not a very low percentage of the money. I'm talking a couple of pairs of designer footwear are probably the first thing I did, and then I would pay off the mortgage.
And you still have some change left.
I will then start to look at investing money and things like that. But that is because I now have £1 million. Right?
No, after the footwear and paying off the mortgage, you won't have £1 million.
Well, I would have had £1 million. So the conversation
would
about
you nice
how
up any family members or
no.
Okay.
No. Look at my face. No.
Okay. All right.
I give education. I don't give money.
Little 10 grand here.
No, I give education. I give people. Give people knowledge, words of wisdom, things to look. I'm always going to help people who are in financial difficulty. I do that now with not having a lot of money. But really and truly, I think having knowledge is so much more beneficial than just having the money.
Okay. So
I can buy £1 million car and it can just depreciate and I can crash it and then the money's gone.
That's true.
I want knowledge.
That is smart. Yeah. So would you keep it a secret if someone did give you £1 million? Or would you tell close family members?
You know, I always say I will keep it a secret, but reality hits, innit? And sometimes you might tell one person and then think, oh, I've told this person, I'll tell another. But in truth, I would love to keep that a secret and just be financially free and just not tell a soul.
Is it enough to be financially free? £1 million? I don't.
No, I want time.
So.
What I want in life is time, not money.
So.
£1 million pounds. But sorry,
yes. I don't think £1 million's nowhere near enough, man.
Come on, speaking from experience.
Something
we've missed there.
Nowhere close. Nowhere close.
All right, go on. You tell me, Said. So, what would you do with £1 million if someone was to give it to you there and then?
Being honest, yeah, I'll probably go on holiday, man. I'll be real with you, like from the get go. Like I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be honest. So, but the large majority.
Can I ask where you would go if I can interrupt?
Oh, I don't even know.
Oh, you're not sure? Okay.
You know,
like Bora Bora or something like that.
Yeah, somewhere warm. It's a bit cold here right now.
Sorry, I interrupted you. I'm just being nosy.
No, it's fine. It's fine. But the large majority, I'm renting right now. So the first thing I'd look to do is probably get on the property ladder. Investments. I'll definitely do that. But like you're asking, is it enough to be financially free? Probably not. You'd need to. It'd be a good start to getting somewhere to having financial freedom.
That's true.
But it's not enough at all.
But then again, financial freedom is what you think, what you could live with comfortably. So if you have a high standard of living, then for you, financially free might mean you'd have to have an income of, let's just say, X amount of money coming in each month. Or if you're a person who doesn't really care, you're content with the bare minimum, then you don't really need a lot of income flowing in every month for you to be free.
I guess financial freedom is easily explained by your money outlasting your life. So if you got
that's generational wealth, right?
Well, generational wealth is about making sure you've got money to be passed on to your loved ones after you've departed.
Yeah.
Financial freedom is, if my outgoings are £1,000 a month, do I have enough money, it's stored in the bank, that I never have to work again if I keep my outgoings at £1,000 a month? That's what financial freedom is. in my life, I don't think £1 million will last me to the end of my life with the way I spend money. But that's what financial freedom is.
I'd imagine it'd be in the tens of millions probably, like at this age.
Tens of millions.
Yeah.
What, from now to
From now
departure.
to departure,
departure, boarding pass ready.
I definitely think it'd be somewhere in that range, man. Yeah. Honestly.
What would you want to set up something for when you do depart for someone to inherit, or you're like, nah, forget that. I'm spending it all for I go.
I don't have any kids at the moment, so I can't really say.
So you know what? I always say, I'm hoping I die an old man, and if I'm an old man, my kids ain't young. So really and truly,
you don't want to spoon feed them, or do you?
With knowledge, yes. With money, I don't want to. I do have this conversation. I'll be really honest with you, where I say, if I've got life insurance. I'm worth more dead than I am alive, like a lot of people with life insurance, yeah? So if I die now, my kids become financially stable. I'm more than financially stable. They gain from my death. But if I'm 85 years old, my youngest child's 18 months, you do the maths, yeah? They're in their adulthood. They shouldn't need my money. I kind of look and say, I think I failed as a parent if I'm dying at 85 years old and my child is still financially dependent on me. So in a way, I want to be able to spend all my money. Do I want them to be financially stable? And will they be financially stable because some of the decisions I made on their behalf? That's what I'm hoping for. That I've helped them along the way more than they have to see me die in order to gain. That's because now I'm lucky enough to own my own home, which now means that one of my parents is still alive. So it means that I don't have to depend on the departure of one of my parents in order to financially gain. I would hate that to be the reason why I've elevated in life. So
yeah, that's true.
The knowledge she gave me is helped. And my father. My father passed away when I was very young, but they gave me a lot of knowledge, man. I'm blessed.
Yeah, knowledge you can't buy.
But really, man, you can't buy this. It's time. That's all I want in life is just more time. Just I enjoy life enough that I want more time.
They say you get younger because you're closer to your.
Is that what they say?
Death, because when when people say, well, I'm getting older, technically you're getting younger because your time is running out.
Oh, wow. I like that one. You know?
I never thought about that.
I'm gonna adapt that somehow. Yeah, I'm going to make that sound like it was mine, like I made it. I'm good at doing that.
You know, take credit for it, you know?
Yeah, I think I'm going to take credit for that, man.
Yeah,
but no, that's a good one. I like that. That's a good conversation. But I just generally just to reiterate what we do at MyBnk, it is literally trying to cover all bases, man, and trying to reach them. The younger, the better. That if we can get to them at 5, 6, 7 years old.
What do you teach a 5-year-old about money management?
What do you teach a 5-year-old?
Yeah, how? Because you said things like start from 5.
So one of the biggest things is like delayed gratification, where I don't know if you've seen the example with the marshmallows, where they put them in front of children and say you can have 1 marshmallow now, or you can wait half an hour and you get 2 marshmallows later. It's like a simple tool just to teach the younger generation that sometimes when you're more patient or when you invest in something, you invested your time, you get more out of life. So you just keep it simple.
How's a 5-year-old going to understand?
I'm going to ask you a weird question. Can you remember things when you were 5 years old? Like, can you look back in your life and there's things when you were 5, you're like, you know what, I remember that.
Yeah, I do, definitely. I can remember some stuff.
As we get older, we discredit ourselves for how much we know. So my earliest memory is like a Michael Jackson Thriller video. Yeah. And whenever I told my mum this, she was like, you were like 18 months years old. How do you remember that? And I'm like, I don't know, but I remember it.
The tune was that good.
I do. I swear. It was that good. Or that scary to me, maybe.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, we do remember things. And as we get older, we just forget how much we remember.
Yeah.
And when I'm in my education position, I'm talking to people, I'm always saying, I know what I was like when I was 11. I know what I was like when I was 8. I don't talk to them from my adult point of view because they ain't got there yet. So I start where they are. And I recognize in myself what I was like at that age and I start there.
Yeah, that's true. Now, for me, for example, I was told to save, but not... I was like, what's the reason?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you never know.
Rainy day.
Know. Yeah,
I'm like, Mum, it rains every day. I've been spending money every day. What's happening here? And that's what I do now. I replace all of those things with actual conversations. So if I'm having a conversation with someone where we're talking about saving money for a rainy day, well, number one, I don't use that term. I'm saying, Imagine you got your finances perfect, and you got your lovely car and you drive it, and you go to the West End to go to Harrods because you got money, and you park your car and you come back and you get a ticket. And what you didn't realise is on the way there, you got flashed and you got another ticket. Now you got to find £120 that's not in your budget. That's what people are talking about when they talk about rainy days. They're saying sometimes you get hit with some finance you didn't know it was coming, and can you cover it? Do you have the money stored for mistakes?
So that's the definition of a rainy day.
That's how I look at it, because I've been hit with some of these, fines. When you don't pay in this country, they don't say to you, it's okay, don't worry, pay a little bit. No, they add charges.
Yeah, they make sure you feel it, you don't forget it. But some people tend to, pile up their parking tickets.
Because we can't afford to pay them.
Do you think money management and time management go hand in hand? What's your view on that?
Do they go hand in? I definitely know they're both important.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think time management's more important than money management. Knowing where you're at, I think is probably more important than money management. Yeah. I think. But they're both important. It doesn't mean that you don't do one just because you've got the other.
That's true. Yeah. What do you think, Saeed?
Yeah, I definitely bad time management can affect you in a lot more ways, I think. Yeah. How are you going to get to work if you can't manage your time? How are you going to do your work?
That's it. Yeah.
Can't do that, and then you can't earn money.
Yeah,
Simple as
I agree.
Okay, so for those who are watching, because the whole point we're trying to raise awareness, we're not telling people what to do or how to do it. Okay. But hopefully through our conversation, people can actually take away a few things, and if they want, they can implement it. If not, they can choose not to. So if you had to advise someone, what would you do? Because we just want to wrap it up.
Okay.
A summary of sorts.
Yeah.
I guess some of the most
to those who are watching.
Yeah, of course. I think some of the most important things I would say is, don't be scared to turn for help if you feel like things are getting out of hand. If you feel like you're struggling, like one of the things as an adult I realize is so many people don't want to talk about their money, especially when it's hard. Some people don't want to talk when it's good either. Own what you do. So we had a conversation about the fact that I'm wearing Louboutins. Like, I'm not going to pretend. But if I buy these Louboutins and I'm struggling financially, I will own that I made that decision. There's nobody else to blame. I've done this. I know I've done it at a time when I shouldn't have. If I did it when I shouldn't have.
They're looking good anyway. So
no, I mean, yes.
Yeah. All right, stop it now.
No. I'm saying what I'm basically saying. You would get credit for the Louboutins because they're Louboutins sometimes, and I sometimes don't agree with that. But I do agree with owning the things that you do in life. Don't be scared to say, I made a bad decision. I don't want to make that decision again.
We'll wrap up now, and thank you both for joining. Anything you want to say, Said, before we?
No. Once again, thank you for having us.
Okay.
Learned a lot today. Cool. Taking a lot of points in from Carl. Thank you.
All right. We've all learned from each other.
All right, great. So that's another episode for today. If you've enjoyed it, please comment, like, and subscribe. And that's it for today. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.